Hey.
All right. Put it in the chat.
Yeah.
Welcome to the virtual brown bag. This is our weekly developer meeting where we share up what we're working on, anything else we might want to talk about. Just a reminder how this works. There's two links. One is for anyone that wants to observe, which is available on our website. If you do want to participate, we welcome you to participate. Actually, there's only two of us here now, so we want you to participate. We just
we
asked,
didn't, yeah,
yeah,
we had a busy day, so we didn't promote as much as I should.
we just asked that you go to our website, join the Slack through there, and use the link that's in the Slack. All right. Oh, just a reminder, we do auto post everything on YouTube, so don't share anything that's going to get you in trouble. So, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, so we were talking a little earlier about maybe doing some React Redux stuff,
Yeah,
like talking about rebuilding it. I have a question actually came up this week and get a good
sure.
discussion point is uh, what is idiomatic Redux? Someone was talking about that, and I've implemented Redux, but I'm not sure what would make any sort of like you're using Redux versus idiomatic Redux.
I can think of something that's so I actually read through the Redux docs last night,
Mhm.
um, which like two thumbs up. Like they did a great job documenting it. Because I have my issues with some of Redux, but like yeah, the stuff that they're putting in there, cool. I really like it. Like they were like, here's the philosophy, here's recommendations, here's other libraries you might use. Here's so yeah, that's really solid. I can so to answer the question, I bet I know what unidiomatic Redux is, which is mutating state
Okay.
directly, which you can do and it'll work because Redux is like that much code.
Right.
So
That's
this,
what my guess
yeah.
is like maybe like if you set state in your component and you change state inside there, but you didn't go through the
But that's
whole loop,
but if
maybe.
you're right there, like if you're talking about that stuff, that's already outside of the realm of Redux
Right.
because Redux is not React specific. So my guess is like the only thing it applies, which is like literally the only thing it could apply to, is that actions. Sorry, not your actions. Your reducers would modify your state directly instead of generating new state.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like which like, again that would work, just
Right.
not what they are very clear in the docs that they don't want you doing that and they don't think it's worth it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm happy to do Redux to talk Redux before we get into that. So we had our conference this weekend. Um,
How did it go?
it went well. We got like something like 190 people for day one.
Nice.
And then project day was a little slower. We did got something like 25, 30 people for that, but there are some fun projects. One of the teams made functional programming buzzword bingo cards. So you
Okay.
can sit in a conference and check it off whenever they say arity or whatever.
Yeah,
Jump up and say,
monad,
yeah,
arity,
exactly. Um,
mutable state.
yeah, that was fun. Um, so yeah, another team just said screw it to the tech part of it and just made an escape room puzzle.
Okay.
All right, fine. It was pretty neat. Um, so that was pretty cool. There were some decent talks. I actually I want to share because I ended up giving three talks because I signed up. I had a 15-minute talk and then I had another 15-minute slot afterwards. I was like, fine, I actually have a 15-minute talk. I'll just fill that slot as well. And then there was like a whole like the final time slot wasn't getting anything in it. So I put an hour-long talk in there just to like fill it out. I was gonna remove later, but I ended up doing that one too. Like, oh, I'm excited about your security talk. I was like, damn it. All right. Um, Yeah, I so one of the talks I gave, and this is something I had talked about on here before, kind of ran through it really quickly, but I've actually wrote up a blog post about this and kind of put in a little more work going through it step by step by step in a way that makes sense on how to get a fully functional with URL syncing tab system working. We're using pure CSS, and I actually looked online for other solutions out there, and mine is better than all of them. No. So like every single solution. So this is actually, first of all, it takes you through. It's very step by step, hopefully easy to understand what everything's going on, so people could recreate it themselves. The thing that this does that no other solution I've seen out there does, everything in the single solution I've seen out there has you hard coding IDs from your DOM into your CSS, and mine does not require that, which I think is a pretty big win.
Yeah.
Add tabs without it breaking everything. And there's also, I also put up here an example, like if you don't want the hash linking stuff, you wanted to stay away from your hash, because you're using and abusing Angular hash or React router or something like that. You could do it without it by using radio buttons as well. So that was just one thing I wanted to talk about. It kind of put up there, and I threw up another blog post kind of while I was at it, because I had it sitting for a while about how you probably don't need to learn MapReduce. You need to learn how to work with other developers if you're brand new, if you're like a recent CodeCamp grad, and you're telling me that you really want to work with big data. Like, that's not your big issue.
Okay, so when you learn MapReduce, I'm like, that's pretty good standard stuff. But I guess you're talking about like, I want to enter big data, and like,
they're like, I want to do it. I like, that's my big hole. I'm like, no, it isn't. You've got much bigger holes.
What does that even mean?
No, like in their knowledge, they graduated CodeCamp and they've done a couple of small projects. And they're like, oh man, they're like, that's the one thing I've really got left to learn, and then I'm really gonna know everything. It's like, no, you've just been mostly focusing on learning rather than implementing for the last like year and a half or something like that, and now it's scary to switch focus to actually implementing rather than learning. But
right, and I don't know, I guess, yeah, there's big data problems out there, and it could just be my exposure, but like, especially if they're new, they're not going to be getting the big data problems.
No one's working on them. Like 0.001% of people are working.
Right. That's why those people also can make a lot of money, because they're the few people in the world that know how to solve these problems.
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I wrote a blog post. This one right here, I think, could be useful for people. I actually should put this on Hacker News or something. Cool. So that was my thing. Besides that, we just talked security. There was some. Oh, I wanted to share this as well. Yeah, this. So Computer File is great. I think we all know them. They have great videos. This one came out recently about password cracking.
Okay.
Really cool one where he's actually showing you some password cracking, like actually running a password cracking utility on some databases, and kind of really dislodge some myths about how to generate a password. Because even like during the conference, I went to a talk where someone was talking about malware, and they were like talking about how to have a good password, and I'm like, you need to go watch this video, because that will change your mind. Because they're basically taking this app that's running a computer that has 4 graphics cards. That's it. Like, they're pretty good graphics cards, but they just pointed at a password database, and it's just unlock completely, one after the other. So if you're still using MD5 or SHA-1, or you don't know what you're using, you should, maybe take a look at it. Look at this stuff. SHA-512 is normal. even something more, even something better would be good. Was I think like bcrypt, right? That's
Yeah,
or
that's
normal
what
as well.
I've been using bcrypt.
Yeah. So those were the big things I wanted to talk about. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to talk about.
Hello?
I've been getting more into Angular, your favorite framework, George,
Why?
because people pay me
Why?
money to do it,
Yeah.
and I know how to do it. So
I assume you feel the same way about it as I do.
yeah,
Oh no, but you
so
like scope, so whatever.
well, I'm trying to follow more idiomatic new Angular focuses.
Yeah.
So using components and having control that's a class, an ES6 class with Babel and so forth, and yeah, and get some tests set up for that. I was pretty unhappy with some of the tests. I would show code, but this is client code. I can't show it. So, but yeah, I was pretty annoyed at my typical JavaScript stuff because I'm like, oh hey, I got some tests. I got it all set up, and I'm like, this is all cool. It's great. All right, I need to mock this stuff. Oh wait, I don't have mocking. Oh, okay, now sign in, everything set up. Cool, it's great. And it's like, oh, this thing returns a promise. Let me mock this promise. Surely a mocking library has promises mocking, and oh no, yeah, I have to use this other library, but this other library doesn't really work because of XYZ and all this stuff.
Is
And
it
I'm
mock
like,
promise?
no, I've used mock promise for my React stuff, and that worked out great. This is something else. So
because I actually had a mock promise just fixed a bug that I found like a year ago. It was like if you new up a promise, it doesn't have a then method. So they just fixed it.
so yeah, that's terrible. So stuff like that where you're just like, come on, guys, like this is just. And then it ended up being one of the libraries. Is my point? I was like, this is just typical. And like, this is not. This is me. We're on different sides. Like potato people. Is like a library that since sign-in didn't have promises, this library added promise support. But this library was like 50 lines of JavaScript, which then had a reference, had dependency to another library. That the same author guy wrote, and that was like maybe 20, 30 lines of JavaScript. And I was like, you've made 3 libraries of like maybe 100 lines of JavaScript that should have not even been a separate library, should have been part of this mocking thing anyway. Like, you're not. I can understand the Sinatra versus Rails. Mine is like, you think you can get away with not needing the stuff that Rails is bringing on, but you probably need it. But there are scenarios where I'm like, okay, Sinatra fits perfectly in school. But in this scenario, for my testing library, I'm not really concerned about the kilobytes or lines of code associated with this. Like, I'm more concerned, I want feature complete. It's like, I love Mocha, but then I still think it's dumb that it doesn't come packaged with a cert library because I'm like, your testing framework is sort of like, I think that's a thing.
It does have an assert, like, I think it does come packaged with an assertion.
No,
I know. You have to bring in Chai.
I mean, well, no, you could use a console.assert. That is that.
Maybe, yeah, it's true because it does. Yeah, you could do that, but I guess mine is more. I'm perfectly fine with you having opinions and putting those opinions in and allowing people who do not share that opinion to swap that stuff out. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just don't think like, hey, I want to build up my testing framework or whatever. And next thing you know, it's like Mocha, sign-in, Chai, Karma, Phantom. You know, like I'm spending all this time configuring where I'm just like, God, I just want to run a test, guys. Just want to run a test. But I ended up getting working, and and I hacked some JavaScript, and I'm happy with it. So it's all good. And the JavaScript I wrote, I'm pretty sure I looked at it and I was like, I bet George could do the same thing in 2 lines. But me, I have.
How many lines did you take?
His
like
lines are
8 or 10, but it was like
lines
really.
are like 30 columns long. His line is like.
No, he gets more familiarity with, I think, with the ES6 syntax and how to shorten it up. And I'll dabble with it. But I definitely saw it, and I was like, I think I could probably make this smaller. But it worked, and I had to move on to other things.
Let's see. I mean, I've been doing some hacking because I started like my little chat client app a while ago, so I've been playing around with that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should try TypeScript. I don't know.
Dude, hey, our session.
Are you enjoying
TypeScript?
it?
No.
Oh, okay. Well then.
I don't see the point. Like, so with the idea that you shared too, it was that it's not enforced. It's just a recommendation from an IDE, and I guess
Yeah.
it's okay and cool, and I guess it's fine for syntactical sugar, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's bringing less to the table than CoffeeScript, and CoffeeScript to me was not
What did CoffeeScript bring to the table, though?
white space sensitivity for me,
Oh,
and
yeah.
functional
Okay.
shorthands, and
Sure.
for this you had classes when you didn't because it was
Well,
pre ES6 for most of the stuff.
yeah. I mean, yeah,
So
ES6 basically came out of that.
right, so there's a lot of now it's like CoffeeScript's not bringing a lot to the table besides white space sensitivity, and I think now with stronger
Yeah.
ESLint, JS hint libraries and support more, I guess, market penetration in terms of that idea. You don't need that as much either.
But I don't know. Still, some of the stuff like the non-zero, non-null references, I don't know.
If it
Maybe
did the
that.
check, then yeah, maybe
Yeah.
cool. I don't know, but I was when it was just like it's like yeah, you're totally gonna return this object, and I'm like I could totally be returning not this object, and
Oh yeah, you totally could.
yeah, like so,
If you're entirely in the world of TypeScript, it wouldn't be, the tools would yell at you. But since you were going from an API, you're not in the world of TypeScript, so which is kind of everything. Like
yeah.
everything's going to be pulling from some dynamically typed source.
I need to get some Elm stuff. I had that one evening. I'm trying to pair with someone this week, hopefully, and get some better with it, and then I'll share more of it because I guess that's what I'm getting to. I was like, I'd rather do that if I want that, like actual type checking and like
Mhm.
if you talk about the idiomatic redux about changing state. I immediately thought of that. I was like, well, they solved that problem in that because you can't like you're changing it forces you to go down that path.
Yeah.
So.
So, all right. I guess I know we had talked about maybe implementing our own Redux.
Yeah, that'd be cool to
Um,
launch.
Does before we get into anyone else have anything they want to talk about? Share.
I got my linter running.
What
Uh,
your in browser linter?
Yeah,
Oh shit! Yeah, show that.
yeah, sure.
This was actually Seth's project during the
Okay.
project day.
Yeah, so we do this thing called Bar Camp. George organized the second day, and one of the challenge of the second day was do something that you can show to people based on something that happened in the first day. And I actually gave a presentation, and I had this problem where I wanted to be I was trying to demonstrate a function, and it was I was using a chain method, and it was in the sources panel, and it's something that typically, if you were using your editor, it would get, in using ESLint, it would be underlined, but I was missing a bracket, and so I was like, well, I wonder if you can write a plugin, a Chrome extension for the sources panel that links your JavaScript in the sources panel, and I kind of didn't really get it working that day. Right? Unfortunately, nobody else was as enthusiastic about the project as I was. There was a couple other JavaScript developers there. They had their own ideas. But yesterday I poked around it and I got it working. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay, you see stuff?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, cool. I'll just start. So if you don't know, in DevTools, you can do something, and it's strange because it seems like something that I thought everybody would know, but basically you can add folders from your file system in DevTools. So in my case, you go to add folder to workspace, you can go to your projects folder, bam, there you go. And so I'm going to go to this test folder.
Wait, you set it up from here? I've never set it up from here before. How did you do it again?
Oh, you right-click in the sources panel, add folder to workspace, and then you can just add any folder. And it also means that like when you're doing a fuzzy finder, it'll show the folder like in fuzzy find.
Nice.
So here's test. This is just a test file that has a lot of problems in it. And basically you hit save, and you see on the bottom. So unfortunately, there's an API that lets you do line-by-line marks, but it's been experimental for like 4 years. And so there was a guy who implemented JS-Hit using this experimental API, but because it was experimental, and it really gives you a lot of bad warnings if you enable it through Chrome flags. Like every time you start up your Chrome, it says, you have this turned on, maybe you should turn it off. Not something that an end user really wants. If someone gave me an extension that required me to look at that warning error every time I started Chrome, it would have to be a really useful extension for me not to disable it. So this doesn't use that. This uses a newer API feature which lets you actually add panels. So over here, it shows. Oh, I didn't actually. This is how you get a sense of what it is. If I didn't do a git pull, I have to do because I worked on it a little bit and I changed the language, this is an array, and I changed it to an object that's ordered by line number. So let me just do that real quick. CD pull. Ooh. Check it out. Okay. And let me go to the Chrome. Actually reload the extension. And cool. And let's do that. Sources panel. Bam. Yeah, here you go.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So
you added it to a panel, and now you just got to make it appear in line.
yeah.
It just adds a new panel every time, though.
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going to add that check.
Not bad, though. Yeah, that's nice.
Mhm.
That's cool. Did you? Well, I guess you could just. It might be a good idea to console log everything too.
Yeah, I would like to eventually get to the point where there's a cool. You can implement not tooltips, but in the status bar, you can customize that. So so this bar in the sources panel right here, you can customize, and so in like JSBin, it lets you. There's that option. And so I can basically mimic, and I don't think it's not as good, of course, as having it totally in the gutter. I mean, that's just the truth. It's really nice to have it in the gutter, but
You might still be able to do that. Like if you have control over the window editor. I mean, first of all, it's probably like Ace or something, right, inside of there. It might have hooks for it, but second of all, you could always just drop a icon on the editor and just offset it or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm not sure if you're actually allowed to run scripts directly on this page. Though. So, for example, I don't if I wanted if it was. I think you actually might be able to. You might be able to run. I think you can run scripts directly on the panel that you create. But I'm not sure if you can. I'd have to look into it. Actually, that might actually be possible. I have to. Unfortunately, and Chrome Extension API is okay, but the DevTools API specifically is really confusing. Really confusing.
I buy that.
And all the examples are from 8 years ago. And so it's tough. I mean, there's an issue where it's people are like, hey, maybe you guys should put some work into it, because a lot of developers would like a clear way of when you describe some of these features, if you could describe it in a more comprehensible way. But that's just, I guess it's not a priority for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's all I have to show.
I found out there's a flag for, and Seth goes by. I found out there's a flag where you can launch Chrome from the command line and it'll like automatically open DevTools on any tabs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was saying I found there's a flag you can, if you launch Chrome from the command line with it, auto-open-devtools-4-tabs, it'll automatically open DevTools on any tabs for that instance.
Huh.
Which is nice.
That
I
is-
also found out that like a lot of the flags that Chrome has sometimes don't work on Windows at all.
Really?
Yeah, like, but sometimes they do. It's very confusing. I have like an issue. I actually had to like file an issue on the Chromium issue tracker. But like I've had a couple coworkers test and like one of them he gets the same results from it where it's a lot of the flags don't do anything. Like the version flag doesn't even do anything. But then like incognito works. The incognito flag works. But then like another coworker also on Windows running the exact same version tries it and it works for him. It's very strange.
That's so wild.
Yeah. That's the problems of building shit in C, I guess.
You think they have I don't know. I always think it's Google. They have basically an unlimited amount of money. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they don't have a whole team on it whose job is just to write
I mean,
documentation for the extension API.
Oh, I'm yeah. That no, they're not putting their money toward that, definitely. There was
Putting their money into projects, they're going to be awesome. They show a lot of promise, and then they're just going to throw away in a year or two. They're like, we like churn. That's what we like to spend money on.
yeah. Well, I mean, like you hear there's always these stories. I mean, about like there was one actually recently. I think my wife was telling me or something that about a woman who had who basically had some two daughters who were special needs, and then someone just started an account on Facebook pretending to be her, and then and just soliciting funds. And she couldn't get like Facebook to like really take it down because they're like, okay, well we need forms of ID and stuff like that, or you know, they're like you hear stories about that where it's like, oh, it's such a clear-cut thing that should be done. In the meantime, someone's life is like getting ruined. And it's like, oh, these companies don't care. And it's not so much. I'm like, well, kind of from the inside of the industry, it's not so much that they don't care. It's more that they like don't really have anyone whose job that is. They're not sure what policies they have to do that. And there's maybe like one person that checks in on that every once in a while, and is completely overwhelmed by stuff that that is not real issues. And it's really, really hard to tell people like what it's really hard to like even determine what should the rules be, like what rules should companies like Google or something like that be enforcing, right? Oh no, right. So that what I said was an example. This was another example that we were talking about, where it was this guy who had a blog on Blogger for like 15 years. It was relatively popular, where he discussed history of pornography and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, his blog got taken down for recently got taken down for violation of terms. That's all that he had, and he doesn't have any backups or anything. And that's where he was doing all his work, and he can't get anyone to answer. Well,
he didn't have. Oh God.
Yeah, I know, right? And that's non-technical and all that. But I mean, like, what exactly should the rule be?
Yeah.
What exactly do we expect from someone whose platform you are using, rather than building your own?
Right. It's tough. I mean, this is a non-democratic like as much. Maybe it's a benevolent dictatorship, but it's not
Yeah.
Like at the end, there's limits to, and
I mean, yeah, like if they set down a policy, fine, but they haven't because I don't know that they know what sort of policy they want to do, and they don't want to have to devote resources to something, and they wouldn't until they're like forced to. And, yeah. So it's all sorts of Wild West right now.
oh, can I show my? I
Sure.
just want to show 1 second
Go for it.
that real quick because I actually got this just to illustrate a little bit better. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you can see how it says line 2, 3. It's not terrible. It's actually a pretty slick interface.
Yeah.
In terms of the way that it will parse an object.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you guys have any suggestions for ways to do it, like because so you can do overlays. You can do, I don't know, in a non-obtrusive way.
I mean, well, so typically you would do a red dot or a red underline, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the underline and the dots are both experimental features. So it has to be like a different way, right?
What about click on something to go to that line?
Oh, that would be good. Yeah. Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily want to click on it here, but if you write the arrows to the console, those can have links in them. You click on that,
Right.
it goes to that line. At that point, like gives like a little display as to what the arrow
that's
is.
a good. I'm sure that's something you can implement in this panels, based on the messaging. Where if you click on one of these lines or something, it would actually just take you to, or like highlight that line number.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, well, scroll to it, highlight it, and then also like maybe display at the bottom like a little panel with the actual message, something like that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be cool.
Take advantage of both of them.
Yeah.
Both those features.
So
you were saying before about implementing a Redux?
Yeah, let's take a shot at this.
Okay.
I'll share my screen. Why not? I read through the Redux documentation yesterday. I didn't read. I mean, like, I haven't like really used Redux before, so you'll have to like help me a little bit. But let's start by we're walking through how it would work. So I want you to talk me through this. So we would do something like import, right? And you have a dispatch command, which actually dispatches an action, and then there's something that actually tells. Well, the reducers fire automatically, but how do you listen to changes to the state?
Well, changes to the state. I mean, it's React, so they automatically re-render.
Well, but that's if you're using React, but you don't have to.
But if you're not using React,
yeah, I have somewhere here. So yeah, like because that's they're using React. Let's see, reducers store. Dispatching actions, that's dispatch.
Oh, but you would do store.subscribe is the...
That's what yeah. So there's store.subscribe. Okay, store.dis. So there's dispatch, store.subscribe, and then that's it, right? There's not really anything else. Everything, yeah. Okay, cool. So whatever, and subscribe. Okay, and then an example of how you might use this is you would do something like set interval, have this fire every 2 seconds, whatever, and we'll do something like dispatch a tick event. Something like that, right? And then up here, so then create tick would be something like const create tick equals time arrow time right there. And then we would do something like subscribe. And inside of there would say state. And just we'll do a very, very simple thing and say, document dot get query selector main. So we're just making a very simple usage. So main dot inner HTML equals, so empty it out and then just say main dot well, whatever. We'll just do this. Inner HTML, and we'll hope we won't get cross-site script injection yet. And inside here, we'll say something like, yeah, whatever. You know what? Even better. Caption. Ooh. Oh. Here. And we'll do state time, right? So, like this would be a very simple React app. Make sense? Am I missing anything?
We tick time, when time changes. Okay, so time is.
All right, and actually, I guess that might not be like a great example. Like maybe, oh. How about this? And we'll do something like div. Oh, I know. Class equals state dot is lunchtime. Like that. So that way, so now we've got two things on the state. We've got the time, and then which is going to be like a formatted time, let's say, and then we'll just say like something like this, HM hour minutes, and then we'll say a Boolean as to whether it's lunchtime or not. Okay. Makes sense. So we got an event that's going to be publishing into our fake Redux thing, and every single time it fires, we're going to have basically every time subscribe fires, this is going to run, and it's just going to spit that out. And now that I think about it, we don't even need line 5. We just do that. We don't actually need these. Does this make sense that this is about how React would work, or I'm not missing the mark? I mean Redux, not React.
So are you going to so which thing is your reducer here?
There aren't. Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. We would need a reducer. So how do you use a reducer, or do you use that via subscribe?
No, you create a reducer function.
Yeah, but then you have to like register it with React somehow, right?
Yeah, you register it in React through It's been a very long time since I set it up.
We'll just say
create the store. The store is a composite of your state.
You create store, and then you combine reducers or something. Yeah, got it. Yes, you're right. So let's do our reducers. Sure. Const. So have is. Tick formatter equals state, not state, time, right? So state gets passed in as the first one, and the previous state gets passed in the second one. No, wait a second. No, hold on. Oh, right. That's how it works. So we're going to get in the action, and then state. And then we're basically gonna say something like
like if action dot time or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. So we would do something like return a new object, and inside of it would be everything that was already in the state, and then we're going to override with state dot, if we have state dot time, if that exists, say if not, state dot time. I am. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm getting myself confused because let's follow the React thing. So if action dot change
type, and what you would do is you would do this action dot type, and so in create tick you would make instead of just passing time, it would pass exactly.
Yeah, and there's a couple things with that I don't particularly like, but sure, let's do that. So if action then we're gonna return. Now here we are, back to this. So we are returning the previous state
plus, yes.
And then we're gonna do time, hour, minutes. Equals action dot time. That was a get total hours. I don't remember exactly how to do it. Something like that.
Well, it would be like, so you'd be submitting time, right?
Well, yeah, but how do you get the hour?
Oh, you're looking for using the date object.
Yeah, so something like that. Get hours, I guess. There we go. Get hours. And then we'll do at minutes. So there's that reducer, and then we'll say const is lunchtime mer. If action dot type equals change time, return state comma is lunchtime, and that's time, hour, minutes. Nope, sorry. type comma time. That time dot get hours is greater than 12, and time dot get hours is less than or equal to 13, something like that. So it's going to have an is lunchtime, and then we need something like create store from tick formatter. But I know this isn't exactly how it works, but it's pretty. I like you pass in an object or something that we can come back to it and look at it later. But that's basically the basic idea, right?
The is lunch timer. So you're having two reducers that you're combining?
Yeah, I'm using two reducers.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think what you do is actually you pass in the property that you care about or something like that at some point. Like I said, I read it in the docs and it's there.
Yeah. Well, actually, the property gets passed in implicitly. So like you have that time. You saw that your time, that create tick thing you got. Okay, so you're passing in the time property. It'll be time and then there'll be a time. And so assuming like that, so when time gets set, you can just do it's just is this part of an object? Is this part of an object? Well, it would just be like action.time.
I'm gonna assume there's only
one. Be action.time.getHours, and you can just set that up.
Well, this is action get time because this right here is action. Right, so I'm plucking time out of there.
You're just grabbing that.
Yeah, I honestly
that's actually a cool destructuring trick. I've never used that.
That
was a little confusing for me when I was.
Yeah, that's actually the best use of destructuring because this way, like someone can look at. Because otherwise, they just see that it's an action, but this way you see exactly what you expect of it.
Right.
It would be even better if you could specify what type should be in there. Type
equal or something.
Well, yeah. What if we did instead of that, you did something like type change time, and just for this one, you would do something like type change time true or something like that, and then have it implicitly check that. So you don't actually have to write the if statements yourself, because really you're not going to care about a whole bunch of types in there. But so there's a bunch of stuff you could do with it, but let's just go with this simple thing. So now we have to implement three different things. So const dispatch equals subscribe equals fn const create store equals so that would be reducers. We'll put dispatch last, put create store first. We'll say something like let store equals let state equals that. Let current reducers equal that. So then subscribing is simply going to be a matter of going through current reducers dot reduce and then we'll say reducer comma state current state. We'll do reducer and apply it to the current state. and then started off with. There we go. So this whole thing is by itself, and then the state is what we start the whole thing off the reduce with, and then just down here, we do current state equals that, right? State. So we reassign it so it's next time, and then dispatch is simply gonna. Oh wait, hold on, no, hold on. Subscribers is it gonna do this? Let subscribers. Subscribers push. Comma FN, and then dispatch is going to be this. So actually,
so this syntax, you're like using some destructuring syntax that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it, and I swear I've done examples of it.
Sure.
But now
Let's talk through it.
I'm like, I don't exactly like. Okay, so the reducer is destructure.
Let's go through it because this is actually
that's iterating through all of your reducers and then assigning them to.
So which
assigning them to a new array called current reducer, and so it's
so you're saying on line 10?
Line 5.
Line 5. So this is going to be create stores a function. A function takes as many reducers as you want to pass into it and assigns it to this right here. That's all it's doing.
Yeah.
It's a setter.
It's returning a new array.
No, it doesn't even return it. It's just a setter. It sets this value. That's all it's doing.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, so it's setting that value to.
Yeah. And then and then I'm just missing one thing down here, I think.
And then the second one is the subscribers, which is you're using the head-tail syntax. Am I wrong about that?
So the second one, the second one, this is basically a push.
Gotcha.
It's create a new array.
Oh, really? So instead of like subscribers.push.
Right. Rather than mutating that exact array, I'm creating a new array with all the old values and one additional value.
Gotcha. Cool.
Okay.
So all that's happening is anything that's going in the subscribe function is being tacked on to the end. Okay.
Yep. And then check this out. So now, like this is kind of how this breaks down, right? So you're basically when you dispatch, you're going to run through all of your reducers. You're going to invoke each one and give it the action and what the state is. And then you're just starting at whatever the state is. And then when you're done, that's going to spit out a new state, which you assign to the state. So that's another setter. And then you just call the subscribers. That's it. That's all of Redux. Like I said, there's a couple other things, but I don't see anything that this will be missing, and like now we could spend time making it nicer.
Yeah, those are the core. I think you're onto something.
I mean, I don't think I'm missing anything.
No, I can't see. I mean, I can look at my examples.
Yeah.
But I don't see. I mean, you've got. I have to say that like, I don't know if Avramov. I think I might be saying his name wrong. I think that if you talk to him, he's actually very humble about Redux, and so even to the point where when he's done tutorials, before he even introduces a topic, a few topics like combine reducers or things, he actually just takes you through a vanilla implementation of it, and then is like, okay, and now we're going to start using it.
Yeah.
So he's basically operating under the assumption that the functional programmers who are looking at this are going to actually know how it works underneath the hood. I think, it's cool that Facebook hired him, but I don't know if that reflects on his genius. I think that Redux just happens to be the Flux implementation that won.
Yeah, and I mean, and I will say I don't have no slights against him. I actually started, I think before he jumped on, was saying I actually super like his documentation, like how he wrote up. The write-up for Redux is great.
Yeah, and he's actually forcing, I mean, you might be a fan of this, he's actually forcing people to use, like, ES6 syntax in a really, so I think that he's actually brought a generation of people into ES6 just because he's been so sort of religious about pushing it.
Just the veneration for Redux is silly, given that, well, we've got 15 lines here, and we could certainly collapse in more. 15 lines here with plenty of white space. Yeah.
It's a brand.
Yeah, so I want to jump in here while you are doing stuff. I will share just a tad bit, a little taste, and maybe a little bit more, and who cares if we go over. So, yeah, so one of the things here, because we're talking about Redux and all that jazz, is that did you know that Dan got some of his ideas from reducers and stuff was from Elm? So Elm was using stuff. So because I was doing it and I was looking, I was like, this is just like Redux, and it's like actually opposite. And so using Elm, and just also want to show a little bit of the stuff. Have you seen it at all, George or Seth?
No,
I've seen Elm a little.
No, this is a great opportunity to introduce it. I'm interested.
So showing this is showcase a little bit why, like the TypeScript stuff, I was like, you're sort of just a half measure compared to this type of stuff. So this is just a beginner program, and as Redux, we can see some of the basic ideas that you have a model, and view, and an update. These are functions. These are actually, in Redux, you're like, I have set up this const string and this other string, and then like that set up all my different actions, and then I have to have my reducer handle that. In Elm, it's a union type. So right now, I just have one thing. It's called set message, and my model. It's a strongly typed model saying this is the type of my model and this is the properties that it's supposed to have. And then here I set my default values. So this model is just a little function call to set up. It's like, okay. And right here, this is similar. So at Elixir, you have type spec. I think it's called where you're saying, hey, this is what the function accepts. The types, and this is what it returns. If Elm, like you specify it, and then also the compiler will sort of infer it too. Here your update. So this is where in Redux should be your reducer, and so here we say, hey, we're going to get a type of this, and then we're going to get a model, and then we're going to return a model. And I've seen discussions like why is there these many arrows, because actually it has to do with functional currying. But I'm not an expert in it. Was that on the bingo card, George? Currying?
I think currying was.
Yeah. See.
Well, no. So basically, it's a function that returns a function that returns a function.
That's why they have the syntax the way they do.
Because a function that returns a function that returns a function is the same thing. Is a more flexible, but conceptually the same thing as a function that takes 3 parameters.
Right, and like I watched on Richard Feldman give a talk, and it was a discussion. That was most of me. I was going, okay, I understand the idea, but
Oh, cool.
And so here
he didn't use the word. He didn't use the bingo card monad, which you'll be disappointed by.
See, that's the thing. That was my first one. I've been monad.
He was talking about it initially, and he must have forgot. Or
identity
were trying
function.
to write up definitions. That's why.
The world wasn't ready.
Yeah. And so then I have my view, which is your render, which you say, hey, I'm accepting a model, and I return HTML, and then action. All right, so obviously you don't have JSX, so you have to do this yourself. This is the tag.
TypeScript, basically.
Yeah, so this is then the properties on the element, and then this is what goes in.
Actually, where did those come from? Because you're not importing H1 anywhere.
Right here up top, I'm importing.
Oh,
HTML
so exposing ...
Right.
Or is that VS Code collapsing ... or is
no, it's me coding saying, hey, bring it all in. You can actually specify which individual ones you want.
Right.
But I'm an idiot, so I'm like, just
give
it
all is a language thing. Okay, got it.
Right. So I have here, and I can be like type, and as I type, it changes the stuff because it just loops through it so fast. So what I was going to show is like, let's add like a reset button So I'd go here and I'd say, hey, you can reset the message. And after I do that, look, it goes, dude, seriously? And like the error messages that they bring here are like, I call it like an extremely polite but insistent compiler. Like they give you a whole lot of things like, hey, dude, I tried doing this and stuff like that or whatever, but it'll be very mad at you when you don't do it right. And what's neat about this is, see, hey, I added this union type, and it's telling me you didn't account for this scenario. You need to do something about it. And you're like, oh, okay, good. Whew, that would have been terrible if I didn't handle that correctly. And what if I said here? And I'm like, okay, I'll set this to. Like, it's gonna go, dude. Seriously, like, that's too many arguments for your union type. That's not right. I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice. Thank you. Now I have my reset message there, but I need to wire it in. So let's make a button. So I'll be like, hey, I want a button, and when you're on click, I want you to say reset message. And oh wait, no comment. And I want the text to be reset.
Okay, can you go through the flow really quickly, real fast?
So this view's been rendered. We have the button. When I click on this, the reset message will be called up to my reducer, and then this will take the model and then set the message property.
Gotcha.
And go through there. So just go bam. And then as I type, this is called set message, and it takes the first parameter is going to be the text from the input, and again it's set there. And so it just loops through it real fast.
Gotcha.
So to me, what I like about this is like, okay, I think like I like the Redux flow, but I see this is where it originally came from. As like this fits better in terms of like its core with that stuff. You have the type checking. So TypeScript feels light because it's like, dude, you're suggesting things. This is actually telling you, if you do not do the types you tell me, I will fail you. Like you could not go past go. You cannot collect $200 until you get it right. Obviously, though, it's not JavaScript. It's Elm, so you have to learn a new language. And there is no the JavaScript interop is you can call out to JavaScript, but like you have to manage it sort of appropriately. And I think the basic structure, I was talking to some Elm people about it, is like, so let's say you were going to call out to D3 or something, you would create your own JavaScript class that would talk to D3, and then you interrupt with it through Elm.
So you would create like an adapter?
Yeah, essentially. That's because otherwise, like they're saying that if you try exposing everything in the library, it gets really weird and complicated.
Right. That makes sense. So you have to kind of go all in. You can't just be like, hey, I'd like to throw in some jQuery here.
Yeah. Well, you can, but it's also more component style with Elm. I've seen you can do routing. I haven't messed with it, but yeah. Anyway, this is my brief exposure of Elm. Some pretty awesomeness inside there. But this is why I don't care for TypeScript. Because I go, if I'm gonna go for typing and I want like that safety and that power, then let's go full force. Yeah, let's go all in with this and be like, the Elm compiler is going to be your most polite, evil friend. Like, you suck, you're terrible. So you go, hey, look, I'll just change that to there. It's like, no, I don't think so, son. Yeah, so I'm inferring that this is the type, but you probably don't want that. Anyway, so that's what, and I'm using Webpack here, and so it's pretty easy to configure and get things set up.
Guys, I got to drop.
Yep, it's done. Anyway, lots of fun, lots of cool stuff. Thanks. Guess talk to y'all later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.